Quick question, how many cow or ox Pokemon are there? It seems like an easy question. Most Pokemon are based on animals after all, so let's see. Miltank, Tauros, Bouffalant, Terrakion? Maybe? So, 3 or 4? But get this, you know how Pokemon often releases art for real-world holidays and events? This includes all of the Chinese New Years, which each have an animal in the Chinese zodiac they are themed around on rotation. In 2021, the Year of the Ox happened, and Pokemon released 2 bits of art. Here's the first, a musical celebration with the Pokemon band from Sword and Shield, as that was the most recent game at the time. There's shaped fireworks celebrating all of the cow Pokemon lighting up the sky. It's a celebration of Tauros, Bouffalant, Miltank, and Gastrodon. Weird, but okay. The other bit of art is this one. Just a cute pattern featuring Tauros, Bouffalant, Miltank, Gastrodon again, with Shellos included, so I guess that was very intentional, and, Gothita? They included Shellos, but not Gothita or Gothitelle? How are these ox or cows? Okay, so Gastrodon is believable enough. First of all, in the debug code for Diamond and Pearl, it's named Sea Cow, which is likely because that's a cutesy colloquial name for some species of sea slugs. Most notably, these two. Notice the cow-like spots, and notice the cow-like face with adorable horns. Bonus fact, this sea slug is also known as a leaf sheep in some parts of the world, and it's an animal capable of photosynthesis, which we've previously talked about in an older video about how grass-type Pokemon could theoretically work. But Baxtrodon. Its Japanese name Toritodon likely partially pulls from torito, the Spanish word for little bull, and that would be fitting of its horns, especially the red and brown Gastrodon from the west, whose horns are very much like straight up horn shaped, stiffer, sharper, curved the same way bull horns be. And actually, it having this third eye spot here goes along with that too. The Tauros constellation, where Tauros the Pokemon gets its name, though it's also just bull in Latin, is associated with many things, as all classical constellations are. But Tauros, astrologically, is the constellation most associated with psychic sight, with the opening of the third eye, or the bull's eye, as they say, right in the middle of your forehead. This is because when visualizing the constellation, the stars line up in a way that almost looks like it has a third eye. It's the star known as Aldebaran, the brightest star in any zodiac constellation. It's like right between its eyes. Bullseye. That could also be why Tauros, the Pokemon, has dots there in the middle of its head, despite not being psychic type at all. And actually, same goes for Gastrodon. Wait a minute, you got the third eye, bullseye thing, but you're not psychic type. What's the point? You don't even naturally learn any psychic type moves. Though, Tauros does, but only Rest and Zen Headbutt, which you could argue is more so because of it being a bull in general rather than it being related to third eye, sixth senses stuff. Though, Psychic is still the second most common type of move it learns, only behind Normal. Even the 3 Paldean Tauros keep Psychic moves as their number 2. And all this Psychic stuff is what leads us to Gothita. The Gothitelle line are all astrologers in Gothic Lolita fashion. They all get their psychic powers directly from the stars and how they and the planets are aligned. And given that Aldebaran is one of the 5 most important stars in astrology, and it's the third eye of Tauros, that does link the line to cows, I guess, but not super well. And that also doesn't tell us why only Gothita is here and not either of its Evos. But you know what does? Its Pokédex category. Specifically, its Japanese Pokédex classification, the Gyoshi Pokemon. Gyoshi has a few applicable meanings. As a noun, it means thoughts and feelings, which is fitting enough. As an adjective, it can mean delicious, something you want to relish and savor. But as a verb, it can mean staring, like how one stares up at the night sky to make their astrological predictions. This is where her English Pokédex category comes from, the fixation Pokemon. When you steadily stare at stars, you become fixated on them. Like a mostly absent parent to their career and productivity. Like the elderly minded to Fox News. Like a teen to their crush or their own appearance. Like a child to their parents' phone. Like a baby to their mother's bosom. I promise you that was not some weird semi-philosophical tangent. Do you know what milk is in Japanese? Gyunyu. What's beef? Gyunyikyu. And what's the first character on its own? That means cow or ox, and when proper, it's pronounced ushi. But depending on context and dialect, it can also be simply gyu. What I'm getting at here is Gothita is a cow only because of layered puns that only work in Japanese. The gyushi Pokemon. Gyu, ushi. Cow, cow. Or milk cow. Or beef cow. But also fixatedly staring at the stars.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Because she's a baby. And babies tend to only be fixated on survival, which typically just means sleeping, pooping, and feeding, be it upon a breast or on a baby bottle. Gothita is also dressed in all black and white, like the most iconic of dairy cows, and if you squint a little, vaguely baby bottle shaped. You see what I mean by she's kinda shaped like a baby bottle? A little blipple nipple on top, plus Gothita's particularly pronounced lips. Oh, those are bottle-sucking lips if I've ever seen any. So the reason Gothita and Gothitelle aren't here in the cow image is because they are no longer babies, and they no longer have that pun in their classification. They instead become the manipulation and heavenly body Pokemon. So it's all just a fun little joke thing that only works in Japanese. And that would explain why this particular image was only posted to the official Japanese Pokemon socials and not anywhere else. But I do wonder how many Japanese Pokemon fans even got that. It still feels like a tad obscure. Obviously, I'm not Japanese, so if you are, let me know how I did here with my pronunciations and my explanations. And also, if you got that connection at all. And have you ever wondered why Miltank is a meme? A real nightmare terror to all who played the original Gold and Silver, and also just like what it is beyond a cow? Then watch this video next and never stop using your noggin.